everyone. This is Peggy Meyer. Hey, I just wanted to fill you in on something that I've been learning about and hopefully doing this on a weekly basis. So, first off, did you know that as a mental health provider for over 20 years, every single person I have seen has come in with a problem? No kidding, right? Why else would they come see me? Some of those people that have come in don't think they have a problem, but a person that loves them thinks they do. So they come in to see me a few times. But the majority of the people know the problem they have and want help fixing or solving it. What is more alarming to me, though, is that all the other people that I don't see in my office. Why? Because we all have problems. Every single one of us have problems, and problems are not bad. What is bad is not doing anything about them. I love to help people solve their problems. I listen, ask questions, give feedback, ask more questions, make suggestions, and I let each person create their own solution. Sometimes their solution works, and sometimes it doesn't. But they come back and figure out what they've learned. I ask more questions, and they leave with another tip that can help them. One main question that keeps coming up for me is, how do people decide to change? What makes them finally decide to do something, to seek help in creating a better life? I'm a learner, and this is one of my strengths. I love to learn new information and sometimes revisiting things I've learned in the past. So I decided to reread the book, Changing for Good. So if you see it here, Changing for Good, there we go. Okay, by James Prochaska, John Norcross, Carlo DiClemente. Okay, I've read this a long time ago. But this time, when I read it, I decided I would share what I'm learning. So starting today and once a week after today, I will be sharing a little bit of what I've learned by reading this book, and potentially once I'm done with this one, maybe some others. So today I'm going to talk briefly about the first 3 chapters: how you change, when you change, and making changes. This book is based on compiled research on people overcoming problems, mainly related to smoking, alcohol abuse, emotional distress, and weight control, but applies to any problem or situation any person has. The process of change is relatively the same. So the first chapter, how do you change? There are 9 major processes of change, which is the major component of the trans-theoretical model that helps us to understand how shifts in behavior occur. Each of these processes has multiple techniques and interventions that are associated with each process, but I will only highlight and explain the process of change for each 9. So the first one, consciousness raising, efforts by the individual to seek new information and to gain understanding and feedback about yourself and the problem behavior. Basically raising the level of awareness of what is a problem. The next process of change is social liberation. Awareness, availability, and acceptance by an individual of external environment alternatives for living a problem-free lifestyle. So for example, if anybody's seen no smoking areas that have come out, okay, social liberation. It's an external environment alternative. Can't smoke here. All right, how about emotional arousal? Oftentimes, a sudden emotional experience comes from like a tragedy, a film, some sort of crisis, and a person experiences and expresses their feelings about a problem or a solution. The next process of change is self-reevaluation. This is emotional and cognitive reappraisal of values by the individual with respect to a problem behavior. It's basically assessing your feelings and your thoughts about yourself with respect to a problem. So what do you value versus what the problem is? Sometimes there's conflicts between the two. So commitment or self-liberation, choosing and committing to act to change the problem behavior, including the belief in the ability to change. So you have to have a belief that you can change the problem, and you commit to acting to change it. and you accept responsibility for change. And this can be a private commitment or a public commitment, such as like New Year's resolutions. So countering is another process of change. Substituting alternatives, hopefully better, healthier choices for the bad behavior or the problem behavior. Environmental control is another process of change. It includes restructuring the environment for success. So avoiding stimulus that creates the problem behavior. For example, removing any junk food from the house. If you're trying to not eat junk food, don't bring it in. Rewards or reinforcement management. Positively rewarding yourself for making a change or reaching a goal. So if you're one that likes gifts, you might reward yourself with something if you've reached a goal or kind of made some positive change. Other people can compliment you, self-praise. There's lots of different rewards management systems in place. The last one is helping relationships. Trusting, accepting, and utilizing the support and help of someone who cares during your attempts to change the problem behavior. So all of these are 9 processes of change. Well, what about the next chapter? When do you change? So when do you change unfolds through a series of 6 stages, which I'll talk about next. You need to know or be aware of what stage you are in. If you are trying to change when you're not ready to change, you will set yourself up to fail. So the stages of change. The first one is pre-contemplation. You don't even know the problem exists. So you deny that there's a problem, you resist change, you don't even see it coming. You want to change everybody else. If there's helpful people around you that are trying to get you to recognize this might not be a good thing for you to do, but you deny it, you blame other people, blame society, or this is just your destiny, or this is just how I am. But it often also demoralizes people, and you don't want to think or talk or read anything about the problem because the situation you might feel is hopeless. So that's pre-contemplation. The next stage is contemplation. So you kind of now move into acknowledge that there is a problem, and you might start thinking about how you're going to solve it. So you kind of know where you might want to go, what the destination might look like at the end of this solving this problem, but you're not quite ready to go there yet. You just kind of think, someday I'm going to change this. So you want to stop feeling stuck, but sometimes you have the fear of failure that can sneak in and then keep you in that stage. If you go through the contemplation stage, the next stage is preparation. This is where you kind of plan to take an action. You might plan to take an action within the next month. Okay, then during this next month, then you're kind of making the final arrangements of like what you're going to do, what you're not going to do. And at this point, it's kind of helpful to make a public commitment to what you intend to do. This kind of creates accountability, which a lot of us need, especially if it's external accountability. Find an accountability buddy. You're more likely to go for a walk or more likely to take action on something. But you still might have to convince yourself that taking action is the best thing for you to do. So the next stage is actually action. You actually take action on your goal. And this is the most visible sign of change. But remember, this is the 4th stage, not the first one, not the second one, not the third one. This is the 4th stage of change where you actually take action. And this requires a lot of commitment and energy to do. And taking action doesn't necessarily mean change. Okay, did you get that? Action does not equal change necessarily. Change happens throughout all of these stages, not just in the action stage. Once you get through the action stage, the next stage is maintenance. Hey, you've committed to doing this. You've kind of been doing it. You've been successful at it. Now you just want to maintain it. So this can be a long, ongoing process. You have to work to consolidate all the gains that you've made and attained during the action stage and the previous stages to prevent any relapses or, fallbacks. And the final stage is termination. And this is when your problem behavior is no longer present and it will never, ever return because you no longer have any temptations and you have complete confidence you can cope without fear of relapse. So those are the 6 stages. But a person doesn't perfectly go through these stages. Often there are relapses or recycling times when we slip back to a previous stage, but we're armed with this new knowledge, so we don't have to start completely over. We've gained this new knowledge of what we've learned, what works, what doesn't work in the process, and when we're ready to tackle it again, we decide what stage we are in and go from there, and we start tackling it again. Just ask any person who has tried to stop smoking or lose weight. The majority of the people don't terminate that problem behavior, but tackle it time and time again with new knowledge that they've learned in the process. So the last concept we'll talk about today in the third chapter is making changes. It is important to know what stage you are in and what you consider the end goal of changing the problem behavior looks like. So if you're going to lose weight, what does that look like? How many pounds? So you kind of have to know what is that end result that you're trying to get for. And it's also important to know what stage you are in. So we just talked about the 6 stages of change. You need to know what stage you're in so that you can match those with the 9 processes of change I've talked about in the first chapter. So here are the 4 questions you can answer yes or no to. I solved my problem more than 6 weeks ago. I solved my problem more than 6 months ago. I have taken action on my problem within the last 6 months. I'm intending to take action in the next month, and I'm intending to take action in the next 6 months. Those are the 4 questions. If you said no to all 4 questions, you don't even think there's a problem. So you're in pre-contemplation stage. If you said yes to, I solved my problem more than 6 months ago, you're probably in the maintenance stage. And if you've taken action on your problem within the last 6 months, you're probably in the action stage. If you intend to take action in the next month, you're probably in the preparation stage. If you're intending to take action in the next 6 months, you're probably maybe in contemplation and in preparation, depending on where you're at. You can be in both. So when you know what stage you're in, you can apply the processes of change that are the most useful in those different stages. For example, pre-contemplation and contemplation stages, the processes of consciousness raising and social liberation are the most useful in these stages. Contemplation and preparation stages, emotional arousal and self-reevaluation are the most useful processes. Between the preparation and the action stages, the commitment process is the most useful. And in the action and maintenance stages, the processes of rewards, countering, environmental control, and helping relationships are the most useful. So this is just a little bit of what I've learned in the last week reading Changing for Good. So let me know in the comments or message me what you learned or if you have any questions. Thank you, and I'm going to join you next week for a few more chapters of what I've learned in Changing for Good. Thank you, and have a great day.